They say the two best days of owning a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it, and having owned a boat, I can say this is definitely true. The same can also be said for owning an RV. Even more so than owning a boat, owning an RV is a terrible experience that seems like a good idea until you do it. There are no reluctant RV sellers. Every RV for sale is being sold by someone who will absolutely pop the cork on the champagne the minute you drive it out of their driveway. Unfortunately, my RV is so bad I can't even really sell it. It won't pass emissions, so I can't sell it as a running vehicle, and it would cost more time and money than I'm willing to put into it to get it to a condition where I would feel honest selling it to anyone but a scrapyard. But I have a YouTube channel, and I can sell advertising. So I give you the last day of RV ownership. Brought to you by the new Insta360 X5. If you've watched this channel at all, you've seen me using my Insta360 cameras on race cars, motorcycles, in the desert, in the mountains. I was using Insta360 cameras before they were a sponsor. In fact, that's why they're a sponsor. I reached out to them after I used their cameras and really liked the ease of use and durability. All of my action cameras are Insta360 at this point, and I just got 2 new ones for this RV jump because they just came out with the new X5. I was waiting to do this RV death jump until I had the right sponsor, and Insta360 is the exact correct sponsor. There are 3 big reasons I like these cameras. 1, I can put a camera anywhere, like the dash of my motorcycle or inside my race car, and it captures everything around it in 8K video. Then later, I can go in and get the exact shots I need framed exactly how I want them. I can do things that would otherwise require a separate camera operator or a dozen extra cameras. Actually, a lot of this would be otherwise straight up impossible. The other 2 things I really like about these cameras is that they're super durable and easy to use. They've all survived some pretty rough use by me, river crossings, desert speed runs, and pretty soon an RV driving off a cliff. The user interface is way better than other action cameras I've used, and the software is straightforward and intuitive. The new camera, the X5, has all of that and some new cool features. It has a larger sensor, which allows 133% more light, so it works great in low light conditions. The battery lasts up to 3 hours, 37% more than the last model, and you can charge it up to 80% full in 20 minutes. The new X5 also has lots of great accessories, including the fast charging case that will charge and hold 2 batteries, so I never have to worry about having enough battery life. Speaking of battery life, the X5 has 20% smaller file sizes, which is great because with all that battery life, you will be recording a lot of video. Also new with the Insta360 X5 is replaceable lenses. You can use lens guards to protect it, but if you forget those or you just like living recklessly like me, you can replace a scratched or broken lens. By the way, the first 50 people to buy a new X5 using my link will get a free lens replacement kit. If you're looking for an action camera or a camera for YouTube, vlogging, whatever, click the link in the description and consider the new Insta360 X5. It is a noticeable improvement on an already great camera. This RV may not look like a complete pile of trash, but most of the problems are lurking under the skin. It has bad bones. There are 2 major reasons for this. One is that this RV, like most of them, is made as cheaply as possible. If you go to the hardware store and find the cheapest hardware, plumbing, wood veneer, carpet, and wiring, and then pay people as little as possible to build that material into the cheapest possible tiny home, you will have half of an RV. The other half is a bare-bones commercial truck chassis that will allow that terrible tiny home to vibrate, rattle, heat cycle, and experience conditions more abrasive than even well-made homes should experience. The result is that just after a few years, you have a vehicle with all of the problems of an old cheap house and all the problems of an old cheap car. The second issue is my fault. Shortly after I bought this thing, I took it out to the Bonneville Salt Flats to Speed Week during the wettest Speed Week in years. Most of the pits and the road leading out to them was a shallow lake, so water fully saturated with salts caked onto every surface and crevice in the old RV. I did try to clean it off as much as I could when I got home, but it was hidden everywhere, and no matter how much rinsing, chemical spray, or rust reformer I put on, the whole thing would just continue to rust away. A few months ago, I decided to fix up the RV enough to sell it. After replacing the dead battery, I started it up to an awful noise and oil spraying out of my oil cooler. Fun. The awful noise was the accessory belt because the alternator had completely seized. Remember how I said salt water got everywhere? It got all the way up past the engine to the top of the engine compartment and inside the alternator enough to cause it to seize up, and also to corrode the top of the engine and also all over everywhere. I replaced the alternator and belt and then found out the shifter cable was rusted so badly I could barely get it to shift into or out of park. The brakes were stuck, but not as bad as the last time when I had to break them loose with full throttle. I drove it around town for about 20 minutes looking at all the flashing lights on the dash and decided to make a list of all of the things wrong with it. Pretty much right after I got the RV, even before I took it out to the corrosive salt, I noticed several problems. The shower would drain right out the bottom of the floor onto the ground. The black water sensors for the tank didn't work, so you never knew if the RV was completely full of shit. The fresh water cap didn't have a seal, so driving around it would just leak water out of the side. We fixed this with a rubber glove. There was another problem with water, and that was a leaky roof. This has led to water damage that has ruined the walls and floor. The wood in the floor is rotted so bad it feels like a small hop would send you through the bottom. Water damage from rain is a continuing problem, seeping in from new places like the bad seal between the cab and the fiberglass, causing rust and mold that makes this as unsafe to live in as it is to drive. The outside compartment latches are real cheap. You can just twist the whole lock to get inside. The furnace in this thing never worked, which I found out on a very cold night in Nevada. The generator works, but is obnoxiously loud and it never starts on the first try. The house battery is always dead. The blinds are broken. The paint dries out in the sun and then drips all over the windshield when it rains. Everything inside rattles and squeaks all the time, and the rear plastic is broken because it got attacked by a bear. The bear wanted in the cooler. Visibility is terrible and the rear overhang is stupidly long, meaning the trailer hitch would drag on every driveway and parking lot entrance. The doorway opening is excellent if you are shorter than 5'6", which I am not. I hit my head on this thing so many times. Cars are usually designed to last about 200,000 miles or 10 years. They'll last longer if you take care of them, but that's generally the target. A quick look under this thing will show you that the RV manufacturer is targeting a much lower number. You can see where the Ford frame ends and the RV edition begins, and it's a pretty stark contrast. And yes, I did coat this frame with salt water, but it shouldn't eat completely through all of the paint. That's just bad paint. The rust caused other problems. The stairs were always a little sticky, but now they don't move at all, even with a pry bar. The brakes are totally shot, calipers, rotors, everything. There's a substantial pulse coming back through the pedal as you slow down. The lug nuts are completely rusted in place. A breaker bar with a cheater bar and a sledgehammer wouldn't even get them to budge. This is especially a problem because the inner tires on the rear are over 20 years old. The wiring is corroded enough that I get several engine codes that come and go at random. It misfires on one, sometimes 2 cylinders. The transmission won't shift into high gear. Remember that oil leak? I thought it was a very corroded oil filter, but it was actually the aluminum oil cooler. It corroded a hole through the aluminum, so I had to replace that. Every part on this car will need to be wire brushed down, prepped, and repainted, and even if I do all that, I still have all the other problems I went over. No, it is time to drive it off a cliff. I know it's a thing for YouTubers to buy expensive vehicles and trash them, and I never really liked this trope, and that's not really what I'm doing here. No, I have a personal vendetta against this vehicle in particular. I've had a lot of vehicles that at one point or another I wanted to drive off a cliff, and this one more than most. It occurred to me that I can actually do that. What's more, I can make a video about it, get an advertiser for that video, and make more money than I would if I spent a month of my life fixing this thing up to sell it. So really, this is the most financially responsible decision to make. The first thing we need to do is figure out how to drive an RV off a cliff without killing an intern. Fortunately, I happen to have a full radio control setup that I made for my smart car. And since I designed it to be used in other cars, it mostly just drops in. It's almost like I did that on purpose. To get the pedal controls into the RV, we ripped out the carpet and kind of just drilled holes through the floor and added studs where they needed to be, gently tapping them into place with a hammer. It had some compliance, but it's probably good enough for what I'm planning. The steering wheel adapter was not exactly centered, but close enough. We did a radio control range test before we left for the jump. I walked away from the RV with the remote and Dave was in the car watching the throttle. I made it about 460 feet away before the signal cut out. The jump run up is 500 feet, so close enough. All the RC stuff was working and all the RV stuff was working, but we did run into an issue that became a big problem. The shifting mechanism was so rusted that it broke the shift cable. The lever would move, but we couldn't get the car out of park. I really did not want to find and buy a new shift cable and install it, but good news for me, the lever on the transmission that the cable attaches to is directly below the center console. What if we remove the center console and just drill a hole through the floor? I gotta say, working on a car that you know you're gonna destroy is very low stress. It turns out the hole wasn't big enough, so we sawzalled out a giant slot in the floor, then we made a makeshift shifter with an old tube and a shifter handle I had lying around. I took out the radio control stuff for a test drive. I couldn't find park, so we started the engine in neutral, and then I put it in reverse to go backwards, only to find one small problem.
Going back.
Is it backwards?
It could be backwards.
So that's reverse.
Oh yeah, that's reverse.
Park's back here.
So we fixed that with a Sharpie. After that, we decided to take it around the block to check everything out.
Reverse. Okay, brakes work kinda. It's a little windy in here.
And with that, the RV was ready to fly. You may have noticed that we removed the airbag from the steering wheel. That's because I didn't want to destroy my radio control setup when it goes off. So we decided to extend the wires from the airbag and put it in the toilet. And on top of the toilet, we put Brandy. Brandy is our stunt passenger. She is fully prepped with a fireproof suit, a 4-point harness, and a certified fabulous crash helmet. I got this mannequin on Craigslist. It came with a red negligee, and I left it in my passenger seat for a while, and I got some real weird looks. I'm pretty sure the lady I bought it from thought I was going to do weird things with it. And she was kind of right. We also decided to go full Looney Tunes, adding an actual anvil into the cupboard above the sink. We took the passenger airbag and stuck it in the microwave, because why not? And on the cutting board above the sink, I made a nice ham sandwich. This was accompanied by several knives and a small Lego RV. I'm willing to bet that if you're a fan of this channel, you almost certainly have or had a car that you wanted to drive off a cliff. And while I can't help you do that, I can strap a bunch of Insta360 cameras to my vehicle while I drive it off a cliff. So we can all feel a little bit of catharsis. I put 5 Insta360 cameras on and around the RV. I put one between the 2 front seats and one went in the back near Brandy and the ham sandwich. This is the major advantage of the 360 camera. I can get the mannequin, the airbag going off in the toilet, the other airbag in the microwave, the ham sandwich, knives, Lego RV, and the anvil popping out of the cupboard, all with one camera. Plus, I can watch it all fly forward towards the front of the RV when it hits the ground. And I can do all of this after the fact. I don't have to set anything up for different zones or shots. I just get everything in 8K resolution, then I go back after the shoot and get exactly the shots I needed. I also added 2 Insta360 cameras to the outside, both on very long aluminum poles. I just hole sawed the side of the RV to get the rear one in there. Again, working on a vehicle you know you're going to crash is real easy. I also added an Insta360 Go 3S to the underside. I love these. They're super small. Where does one drive an RV into a ravine? I could go out to BLM land and find a nice off-road trail up to a ledge, but I don't really want to collect all the broken pieces of a wrecked RV and take it to a dump, and I'm also not entirely sure it's legal, even in BLM land where everything is legal. So I found a filming location not too far from my house that is set up for filming car stuff. I told the owner I wanted to go full Thelma and Louise with my RV, and he told me he worked on that stunt, so I was at the right place. He smoothed out a nice ramp at the end of a long straight, one that ended with a nice drop-off. I know some of you are going to comment that this is not technically a cliff, just a steep dirt hill, but you should leave that note in the comments, and then also subscribe so you can leave other pedantic comments on future videos. We took guesses as to how far the RV was going to go. Mike, the guy that owns the place and has done similar things before, said right at the bottom. I optimistically said back here on the upslope. We had other guesses kind of all around. I gave a little Superfast Matt an Insta360 Go 3S camera and set him right where I thought the RV would land. Brandy was in the back ready to go, and in the front we had our trusty crash test bear, Candy. That is, of course, Candy with an I. With the RV lined up and everyone in place, I radioed to make sure everyone was clear, and then I took off. I think my favorite part of this jump is Candy putting her arm up out the window right as the car went over the edge. The Insta360 X5 we had in the rear of the RV caught all of the action. I love how everything just levitates for a moment like it's in space, and then it all flies forward to the front in chaos. Knives, Legos, ham sandwiches. For some reason, this bottom bread of this side of the ham sandwich not only didn't float, but it stayed stuck to the cutting board on impact. An impact that was significant enough to remove the oven clean from the wall. You can see the exact moment the anvil in the cabinet removed the door clean off the hinges, and then you can see the anvil mid-air. If we go to the front camera, we can see it coming through the fiberglass upper part right here. I could watch this all day. You can see how the crash caused Brandy to shift forward just enough so the airbag exploded out the toilet just behind her, and the airbag in the microwave just came out as it went off. Most things were reasonably fine during the initial impact, except the oven, but once the RV fell on its side, it was total chaos. Some of you may have noticed that the RV swerved a little bit right before the jump and went off sideways, and it definitely slowed down a bit. Well, you remember before when I said we did a range test and it only went 450 feet? Well, one of the safety precautions we built into this controller system is that when the receiver loses a signal, it goes full brakes. Well, at the last second, as it was veering to the right, the controller lost signal, kept steering, and hit the brakes. You can see it slow down here, followed by Candy putting her hands up for the jump. So the RV went off to the right and slowed down enough that it didn't travel very far. Here's the view from the camera I had set up to capture my landing spot. So yeah, we missed it by a bit. We went down to check out the carnage, and it was pretty bad, although I was in a much better mood than most people who just rolled their RV down a steep hill.
You know how much? I got this amount of driveway space back.
We had a couple bonus YouTubers with us today. We had Alex from No Bitrate. He does a lot of automotive-related destruction, so a perfect addition to this shoot. We also had Xyla Foxlin helping out. Xyla has a great YouTube channel about fabrication, rockets, and other engineering-related things, so be sure to check out her channel as well. We dragged the RV carcass down into a flat area. Part of the reason I paid for this filming location is because the owner will make my RV disappear after this. While I do not want this RV, I very much do not want this RV. But before it gets hauled off to the salvage yard, I need to get my cameras, my radio control equipment, and of course, Candy and Brandy. So I went in.
Looks like Brandy survived though.
And her lipstick hasn't budged.
Bit of ham sandwich in the shower. Some Legos. Oh, there's the airbag.
Don't worry, there's a fire extinguisher.
Safety.
Safety.
We did manage to get Brandy out. She was mostly unharmed, probably due to the fabulous crash helmet. With the RV ripped mostly apart, you can really see the corrosion everywhere and the wood rotting away. By the way, if you ever sit in the back seats of an RV with the lap belts on, you are not safe. The belts are still there, bolted to this flimsy steel angle that is only secured to the foam sandwich wall, but the seat itself is not even close. The right front tire was completely ripped off and the brake rotor was shattered in the process. One of the wheel nut covers was embedded in the wheel liner. With the car back on its wheels, there was one last thing to try.
Hey!
Insta360 really was the perfect sponsor for this video. I just stuck two inside and got all of these shots. Anything I wanted to see anywhere inside the RV was captured, and I could find it later with the exact framing I want. This would basically be impossible without this type of camera, or would at least require 8 different cameras. Even then, I'd have to know what I wanted to record before the event. I don't know which way the anvil is going to go. I don't know where the sandwich is going to land. Doesn't matter. The camera catches everything. I mostly use the desktop app for editing, but the phone app is very easy to use, which is good because everyone I knew wanted to see videos of this wreck as soon as it happened. All of the cameras survived with nothing more than minor scratches, including the front one that got skewered into the ground and the side one that had an entire RV roll over on top of it. The front inside camera got hit with a microwave door and half a dozen other flying things. The outside one got a little bit of a scratch on the lens. It's not really noticeable when recording, but guess what? New with the X5 is the ability to replace a broken lens. This is great because I am not kind to these cameras. Sometimes I throw microwaves at them. Sometimes I spray them with sparks. Hopefully I don't do more damage. Oh, no, there it is. No worries though, we can easily remove the old lens, clean up the area, and swap in a new, perfectly clean lens. This is wonderful considering the kind of abuse I give to these cameras. The invisible selfie stick is awesome. The imperfection you see here is from the aluminum pole I zip-tied the selfie stick to. Without that, it is totally invisible. And the high dynamic range of the X5 means you can see the clouds and the bright blue sky and the dark shadows under the RV. The camera comes with flow state stabilization and horizon lock, meaning a lot of the editing is already done for me. The shots come into software already aligned with the horizon, and the stabilization cleans up the bumps and rattles of an old RV driving wildly down a dirt road to its death. The X5 also has a lot of great accessories. There's a 90-degree mount that will make it easier for me to attach this to my race car. There is a rainproof USB charging cover so you can charge it in wet conditions, which will come in very handy for the kinds of things I do. You can get a utility frame that allows you to attach things like lights and microphones, and they have a selfie stick that can easily be unlocked and rotated so you can swing it around and get bullet time video. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Insta360 for helping me to not only remove this thing from my life, but to film it in 360 degrees of 8K carnage and destruction. Click the link in the description and get yourself an awesome camera. I'll see you next time. Used to be that you had to impress people to get people to watch your show, but now all you have to do is impress the algorithm. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It actually helps the channel a lot. And of course, all hail the algorithm.